Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And it might seem like I'm forgetting what I even do on this channel, what with that whole Colonial Marines Let's Play recently, but let's get back in action with a good old-fashioned classic horror movie review. Though some seem to think I used to exclusively do this, despite my earliest reviews being sci-fi horror and action, I do occasionally like to delve into the world of cheesy horror. With that in mind, this week we're going to be looking at Motel Hell. Released in 1980, Motel Hell was originally supposed to be this gruesome, dark, disgusting, horrifying, murderous, terrible movie of death and destruction. But they stopped from being a Universal project into a United Artists project, and with that change, the tone of the movie changed drastically into being a dark comedy. Considering the low budget, that may be for the best, as this movie has attained cult status, due in part to its humorous depiction of the situation. Motel Hell stars Rory Calhoun as hotel manager slash farmer slash butcher slash meat smoker Vincent Smith, who manages to pull all this off with the help of his little sister, Ida, up until they wind up with another person living there with them, whom doesn't know about what goes on in secret. Which I am going to completely spoil for everyone in 3, 2, 1... The film opens up with Vincent sat right outside his home/business, Motel Hello, in the middle of the night. Heading off to hunt some meat for his smokehouse, we soon find the new face for his home, Terry, played by Nina Axelrod, out with her boyfriend, Beau. You might be wondering, as I already let that bit of info slip, how he manages to get her to move into his place. Well, you see, Terry happened to have an accident right where he was hunting. And that doesn't spoil any potential twists later whatsoever. As Vincent is checking Beau's body, played by Everett Creech, he notices that Terry is slightly less dead, so he takes her home to recover. Because,
Good Lord has chosen to pluck this flower away from the Grim Reaper. And I want to make good and sure he keeps his hands off her.
Just because. That's a great way to start. Which also introduces us to Vincent's little sister Ida, played by the late Nancy Parsons, who you may recognize as Ballbricker from Porky's. She doesn't seem all that enthused by this turn of events, but follows his wishes to help the lady recover, which she has plenty of time to do while Vincent hawks his wares.
This is our souvenir sampler box. No chemicals or preservatives, just 100% honest-to-goodness hickory smoked meat.
And as a special bonus, each box doubles as a literal plot device. We can't forget this is a horror movie, though, so two little girls find their way into the abattoir. I use big words which provides us with our predictably slow, creepy buildup of various horrifying, yet somehow delicious mutilated animals, and then... Right, so they knew the kids were going in there, and the best way to deal with the situation in their minds was a jump scare. Seeing their terrified twins, the parents are suddenly very concerned. But don't worry, Rory Calhoun will calm them down. How the hell did that work?
You folks come back and see us again real soon.
It was a pleasure.
Seriously, how in the fuck does that work? What, in this world, do they scare the fright out of people? Well, if that's the case, then Act 3 is going to be very strange. After we establish that Vincent has a locked fence containing a dark secret, an 8-track player, we suddenly shift to introducing another character, the sheriff, Bruce Smith, played by Paul Link. From Spaceball 1? After Ida jumps his ass for no apparent reason, seriously, it's friendly banter with a goddamn cleaver. We find out that Terry has come too, but isn't so happy as the first thing she finds out is where her boyfriend is.
I want to see him.
Well, it's too late. I buried him at sunrise.
Anna sold that bike of yours for scrap, and I'd have given you a sponge bath, if Ida hadn't given you a sponge bath. Convenient lawman points out that evidently in this county, speed burial by civilians is perfectly legal. Now that we've established that, it's time to introduce E. Hampton Beagle playing veterinary health inspection type Bob Anderson, stopping by for a surprise inspection. However, he seems less interested in the pigs, and more in what's going on behind closed doors.
How'd they look, Bob?
Ensuring that yet again we learn nothing. In fact, we saw even less this time around than in the scene with the kids. So Bob leaves in quite the hurry, but Terry decides that she doesn't have to leave, thanks in part to Vincent's kind words.
None of us are ever really alone.
What do you mean?
Well, you have yourself.
That's the definition of alone.
The very fact that you're sitting here with us proves that it was preordained.
Presuppositional apologetics are being used to tackle the tough questions of seating arrangements now?
I guess you're right.
Which officially establishes that Terry is a gullible, empty-headed fuck nugget. If anything, this calms her down so she can go to bed, and Vincent closes up the motel for the night, right in time to spot Bob trying to sneak back onto his property. He might have had a hell of a lot more luck with had he left the Cadillac down the road. Sneaking not into the building he was lurking around earlier, but behind the locked fence, we find something far more disturbing than a defunct high-fidelity audio format. It turns out when Vincent buried Bo, he failed to mention that it was in his garden, and the man is still alive. Now that Bob knows the truth, he can be buried along with the others, because it's not like killing a man in an official capacity performing an inspection on your property is going to raise any red flags among officials. No. Yet, big surprise, when Vincent goes out hunting, he's hunting for people to plant in his secret garden, such as this traveling band, Ivan and the Terribles. It's a shame they didn't do more of this movie's soundtrack and instead was stuck with this.
You're eating out my heart and soul, babe.
You screaming cat sounds better, but can we kill that band instead of this one? Sadly, no. Ivan and the competent must go, so the movie can show us what Vincent's been doing in his garden. After knocking out his victims, individual holes are drilled into the earth, trapping each person in place, and their vocal cords are cut to keep them from screaming for help.
Funny-looking critters, ain't they, Vincent?
It takes all kinds of critters
To make Farmer Vincent fritters.
Okay, but you don't make fritters, you make smoked meats. And that's not your slogan, this is it. They're quick to exposit the history behind his use of exotic ingredients, as when he was a young man, his grandmother's dog barked too much.
One day she asked me to shush it for her. I shushed it all right.
Okay, all jokes aside, let me just say it was fucking brilliant casting Rory Calhoun as Vincent in this. He just reminisced about killing, smoking, serving, and eating the family dog in such a way that you really can't feel bad about it. That takes talent. But when Ida goes to explain why his smoked meat is so delicious...
It's because he mixes the pork with
Oh, so he doesn't want his secret out for the world to know how to make his food. Well, that's not even remotely suspicious. Leaving this unnecessarily awkward situation, we find out that the sheriff has a thing for Terry, taking her out to a drive-in movie in the most convoluted way possible.
Yeah, Dixie? This is Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
Will you feed the sound on the channel 22?
Sure thing.
Thanks.
You know, it'd probably be less hassle for the theater to just let you drive in without paying. This leads to the always comfortable, not at all awkward to bring up, attempted rape, which is fortunately interrupted by someone screaming over the radio that someone is trying to kill them. So Bruce is on the case, ready to save the woman as soon as she tells them where she is. Or falls over, for no fucking reason. Of all the ways Vincent could have foiled her escape, he just lucked out that she happens to be a narcoleptic. This gives Vincent plenty of time to dump the car in the lake, which means by the time Bruce and Terry arrive, everything is A-OK. Surely the tire tracks that lead onto the water are just the result of some errant DeLorean. This hiccup does mean that Vincent is working long into the night, and unfortunately both he and Ida forgot to turn on the no vacancy sign, and wouldn't you know it, a customer just so happens to arrive at that very moment.
Farmer Vincent. Who the hell is that?
He makes the best meats in the whole world. I practically grew up on it.
Please take note of this line for later. And by later I mean right fucking now. This man who knows very well what this motel does and does not offer, as he grew up around here and frequented this spot, now seems to think that because they were featured on a Hot Spots pamphlet, suddenly that means this is a brothel. Which would make Vincent a farmer, hotel manager, butcher, meat smoker, and pimp. Damn, Rory Calhoun's got skills. Yeah, we know what this is all about. We get to watch some over-the-top stereotypical sexual deviants get ready for debauchery when they are in fact about to be murdered.
Edie, where's my jelly?
and that cannot happen soon enough. In any case, they are tied up and knocked out, and this particular issue never comes up again. They don't get any more attention from the pamphlet. In fact, the pamphlet's not even brought up for the rest of the movie. And the sheriff doesn't question that there's now an extra car in the driveway that just never leaves. But they can't move the plot, so instead Vincent asks Terry if she'd like to learn how to smoke meats herself.
Well, don't be too sure about that. Sometimes folks don't have a stomach for it.
Well, don't worry about me. Mine's cast iron.
Sure, it might seem weird that she would just abandon her old life to stay out here, but keep in mind, evidently nobody from her old life actually even tried to contact her, so fuck him. So after he goes off to take care of his plants, she decides to give us another glimpse of what's inside the shed of mystery. Vincent, just so you know, if you want to make sure that your recipes are kept secret, try not hiding your secret spice in a big-ass bucket labeled Secret Spice, visible as soon as you open the fucking door. Obviously, she doesn't find anything too interesting just yet, instead being stopped by Ida before the plot can move too far ahead. Hearing how Vincent actually intends to teach Terry to smoke meats, she gets an idea.
What a day for tubing!
Tubin?
Well, everything else in this movie is decided upon just as randomly, so why the fuck not? So they go out tubing, but it turns out Ida intends to kill Terry. So she cuts her own tube, and when Terry comes to the rescue, tries to drown her ass.
What are you doing, Vincent?
Lucky for her, though, it turns out Vincent also moonlights as an Olympic-class swimmer. Thus, the animosity between Ida and Terry is discarded immediately, so Terry can now try to bone the 50-some-odd-year-old farmer.
We should be married first.
No, you should be institutionalized.
I think I'd like to be alone for a little while.
Yes, trying to force him to have sex with you is A-okay and totally different from what the sheriff was trying with you earlier, but even mentioning marriage, that is going a bit too far. It's clearly better to just go on ahead and arrange the marriage with the local pastor.
That's right, he told me to order a service for him tomorrow.
I don't believe it.
Jeez, it's like shopping while hungry. You should not schedule a wedding with blue balls. Convinced something fishy is going on from this news, and not the dozens of missing persons cases that just so happen to coincide with this county, Bruce rushes to the old motel to save Terry. Except there is a little problem with that plan.
We're getting married tomorrow afternoon.
She knows all about it. Evidently, in that alone time off screen, not only did she get over her animosity towards Vincent, but actually is all for marrying him. Well, he is Rory Calhoun. And you can trust that when the lawmen come around to start yelling crazy shit at women, Rory Calhoun will be there to chase them off with his trusty 12-gauge. All without worry that they'll ever come back with a warrant or the like. That means they can enjoy their extremely low-key engagement party. Not that I expect anything extravagant, as their engagement period is less than 24 hours, but couldn't they at least let the smell of gunpowder dissipate before breaking out the champagne? So, Ida isn't over the whole wanting to kill her thing.
She's out. Let's go to work.
Wait. The Vincent wanted that? Who? Okay. Even if there was a motive we knew about, what about the wedding scheduled tomorrow? There are lots of people that by now know that there is a woman staying at your house. Yet again, I have no idea why this was needed, as the work in question is doing a long, elaborate execution of Ivan and the Terribles, who, while one of his newer crops, is somehow ready for harvesting long before many of the others. They don't really go into detail as to why they need to be buried and force-fed, and even if they did, Bob and Bo were buried long before this group, so what exactly is it that makes a man ripe or not? This loosening of the soil has the adverse effect of making it ever so slightly easier for Bo, again planted long before this man was, to free his hands and soon his body. Which only really makes sense if you assume in the 30-odd years they've been doing this, they never harvested a body before. Or when they did before they'd packed the soil back in and just forgot to this time. Again, it would help if they actually explained any of this. While they work, Sheriff Bruce surprises the world by actually doing his fucking job. A cursory investigation of the bike wreck and the area around where so many people were last seen reveals the extremely obvious trail Vincent's been leaving behind.
Oh, Bruce, what are you doing here?
Don't worry about me. You're the one who's in danger.
Hold the fuck up. They left her in bed to wake up on her own later. And why the fuck did you drug her? What, was it too much to ask to wait for her to get tired and go to bed on her own? Terry doesn't believe Bruce whatsoever, but fortunately he did bring some actual evidence with him. If that's not good enough, don't worry. Ida ambushes them to remove all doubt.
Time for your lesson, honey. We're gonna teach you the finer points of meat smoking.
You may decide for yourself which is the scarier culinary tutor, a cult single action or Gordon Ramsay. But hey, she really liked the meats, right? Maybe she'll actually want to learn. Okay, Anissa, you could at least pretend long enough to escape later. Shotguns and chainsaws all over the walls. Spitting in his face first thing is not the most advisable course of action. With that in mind, Vincent demands Ida go and get Bruce to join them. This does not go quite as planned, as Bo dug up everyone else, who now, weakened from the ordeal and gurgling from their vocal cords being severed, come off almost like a horde of zombies. Tackling and taking her down right outside the building, yet nobody inside the building seems to have heard a sound.
I treat most of my stock better than farmers treat their animals.
The funny thing, he is absolutely right there. I've seen the exposés. After she tries and fails to escape, and decides not to just go for the fucking chainsaw, Vincent gasses her just like the others, knocking her out yet again, before strapping her down on the conveyor. Why, he doesn't do sliced meats, he does smoked meats. Shouldn't he take her off and go plant her? And isn't he the least bit concerned that his sister has not returned yet? Don't let any of those questions bother you, though. Bo is here to do battle with the farmer and save his... Well, never mind. On the plus side, now she's single. Therefore, it's Bruce who comes to and must save the woman he tried to force himself on earlier, but she's bound to be over it by now. Unfortunately, he walks right into the climactic battle.
Vincent?
Okay, can we all agree that a pig-masked cannibalistic murder is not the most fucked up thing this movie has shown us thus far? Opting to fence with a shotgun, this proves an even stupider idea than it sounds. Now, what the hell was he thinking? Oh, this shotgun is good, but it'll be so much better sawn off. Oh, that's better. Instead, he gets himself a chainsaw of his own, and we have a chainsaw duel to the death. As awesome as that sounds, and still manages to be, it's not as good as it could have been. This ridiculous scenario is so over the top, I feel it really should have been shown in an over-the-top fashion, but the close angles and slow pace of the fight work against that. Nevertheless, Bruce slices into Vincent, defeating him, but leaving him alive enough to reveal that there's a terrible truth to his smoked meat secret recipe that he must reveal before he dies.
I used preservatives.
Okay, I can't think of a better way to close this movie. Anyway, that was Motel Hell, and it's entertaining as fuck. But damn that plot. I think it's a wonderful thing that this movie winded up being a dark comedy, because if the plot was the same when it was supposed to be a dark, serious gorehound flick, it would have hurt the movie a hell of a lot more. It's not that it's terrible, but so many inconsistencies make it impossible to take seriously. When I told Nico Twins about the characters establishing certain traits only to go completely against them within the next breath, and the odyssey of Terry and Vincent's wedding, as she put it, it sounded like a bad fanfiction written by someone who couldn't decide what they wanted to do with the characters or even could remember what they were supposed to be doing from one part to the next. However, that's pretty much the extent of bad things I have to say about this movie. The comedic aspects, while not masterful, are at least worth a chuckle. The big thing that holds everything together and makes it memorable, though, is the quality of the acting, which is high all around. I don't have to explain the virtues of Rory Calhoun or Nancy Parsons, I hope, but Paul Link also did a great job with Bruce. He manages to portray the character as a happy-go-lucky guy, but with a wide enough range of emotions that the events do affect him, and he looks like he actually gives a damn about defending the law. Nina Axelrod doesn't shine all that much, but truth be told, that doesn't seem to be due to a lack of ability. The character, despite being best described as the protagonist, just doesn't have as much screen time as the others. When she was on screen, she did get to display a decent enough emotional range, though never got a chance to be insane like most others, just sad, in love, or stupid and in love. Now, well, we get to see her boobies, so I'll call that a win. Overall, Motel Hell is a fun movie to watch, but the plot is way too thin for an hour and 40-minute running time, and the events don't build on each other. In fact, often going against previously established points, making the whole thing feel like it's mostly padding. However, it does entertain, and very fortunately, does not take itself too seriously, managing to come in at 3 Farmer Vincent sampler boxes out of 5. I thought human was supposed to taste like pork. I mean, mixed with pig, then why would it be, oh, this is something I've never tasted before? I'm not gonna eat people. Thank you all for watching. I've been Decker Shado, and remember, it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent fritters. Which we never saw, so I really can't even begin to say what the hell was in his fritters.
Edie, where's my jelly?